everybody, welcome back to another video on the channel of Mr. Footballer Loons. And today I'm doing Premier League predictions for Game Week 15. And we're going to be starting off on the 5th of December. It is at Molineux. It's Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Burnley. And well, Burnley, what an absolute great game it was against Sheffield United. Absolutely battering Sheffield United 5-0. And is also the first clean sheet in the Premier League. And also Rodriguez scored a goal in the first 15 seconds. That's the quickest goal this season so far. Burnley on the up. Vincent Kompany is a bit safer now, and a lot is off his chest now after that win. I mean, I knew they were going to win. I even predicted it. And going against Wolves, which Jose Sarr, their main goalkeeper, has been injured. They lost 2-1 against Arsenal. I know it's Arsenal, but I feel like the defending, they couldn't keep up with Arsenal. But I felt like there was some basic things they could have done defensively to stop Arsenal. Yes, it is Arsenal, but still, it wasn't amazing. And now without Jose Sarr, I don't know what's the news on Pedro Neto, whether he's going to be available for this game. I don't think he will be. Overall, Burnley on the up. I feel like in recent times, they've had 3 really good games. Their performances, they played well against Sheffield United, they played well against West Ham United, and they played well against Crystal Palace. In all 3 of those games, they deserve the win. And I feel like wins are going to start coming their way. And I feel like Burnley are safe. They are going to finish in 12th. That's how I predicted them at the start of the season. That's where I'm keeping them. I'm facing Wolves. I don't think they'll get a win, but I feel like they'll get a draw. But Burnley are going to move up that table very, very soon. So I'm going for a 1-1 draw in this game. Moving on to the next game. It is at Kenworth Road. It is Luton Town versus Arsenal. Now at the Luton Town Stadium, it's going to be hard. Arsenal going to the Luton Town Stadium. It's very small, very cramped. And Luton Town do well. And you know what? I feel like they'll keep it nice and close and tight result, as Arsenal tend to do. As last game, they could have easily scored 3, 4, 5, but they didn't. And the thing is, they don't have a striker that can score 20 goals. Gabriel Jesus is a very good player, but he scored 1 goal in 9 games. In my opinion, Gabriel Jesus is not a goal scorer. That is definitely not his main speciality. But he was involved in both the games. And overall, what he does off the ball, what he does with the ball to eventually create the chance is very well. He's not a goal scorer, but overall, he does play well. Some great passing, some great vision by Gabriel Jesus. And overall, Arsenal, there were 2 festivals. And I think it's going to be the same thing here against Luton Town. I feel like it will be tight, as results are, and at Luton Town it's going to be very hard to break down, but Arsenal will get it over the line just about, and I believe the score is going to be 2-1 to the away side Arsenal. Moving on to the next game, it's actually a whole new day. It's the 6th of December. It is at Bramall Lane. It's Sheffield United versus Liverpool. Is there anything else I need to say other than Liverpool are going to win this? I think it's simple as they are going to win this. Sheffield United lost 5-0 against last place Burnley, and overall I wasn't convinced when Sheffield United got points. I knew Burnley were going to win that. I didn't realise it was going to be 5-0. I thought maybe it would be like a 3-1, 2-1 to Burnley. But it was an absolute thrashing. It was not good enough by Sheffield United. Against Liverpool, obviously Liverpool are without Alisson. I believe they're still going to be without Alisson. And Kelleher did get makes and did concede 3 goals against Fulham in that crazy 4-3 thriller. And can I say, McAllister's goal is goal of game week 14. They had 4 great goals, Liverpool, in that game. But I have to say, McAllister's volley was fantastic. Trent's free kick and Trent's last goal was fantastic. But McAllister gets goal of game week 14. As I said, Liverpool are going to win this. I'm going for a 4-1 Liverpool. And moving on to the next game is at Craven Cottage. It's Fulham versus Nottingham Forest. And with Nottingham Forest in the last game, they lost at 1-0 against Everton. And you know what? I felt like that game deserved to be a draw. It was overall a very close game. And they're facing Fulham away from home. And you already know it. Nottingham Forest don't have the best away record last season, and this season isn't fantastic either. Overall, the results aren't going Nottingham Forest's way, and I don't think it's Steve Cooper's fault, because Nottingham Forest are performing well, but nothing's quite clicking. I feel like it will start clicking, but away against Fulham, which scored 3 goals against Liverpool, is very promising for Fulham. I feel like it could be a draw. The logical thing here would say a draw, but I'm going to go Fulham just about because they're at Craven Cottage, and because Nottingham Forest has a terrible away record. So I'm going for a 2-1 win to Fulham, the home side. Moving on to the next game, it is at Selhurst Park. It's Crystal Palace versus Bournemouth, and I would say a draw. I look at this game and I feel like a draw. Bournemouth are playing sensational. I don't know where this came from. They didn't have a win for like the first 9-10 games. I don't know exactly, but they're suddenly transformed. Semenyo, fantastic. Solanke scoring. Semenyo got another goal. Tavernier making runs after runs, I would say the weakest part in Bournemouth is probably their defence. But Bournemouth are starting to pick up points. They're on good form. Crystal Palace, on the other hand, aren't fantastic. I believe they've gone 4 points in the last 5 games. They're home here. And you know what? I feel like in this game, AFC Bournemouth will dominate. They will dominate the whole entire game, but Crystal Palace will win this game 3-2 because of home advantage. And overall, Crystal Palace are that mid-table club, and I feel like they drew a win. I thought it's going to be against Bournemouth. Moving on to the next game, it is at the Amex Stadium. It's Brighton and Hove Albion facing Brentford, and well, this is crazy. You know, Brentford last season, most draws. Brighton drew like 3 games in a row in recent time. So the obvious thing here will be a draw. And Brentford, sensational. They dominated against Luton Town. Luton Town are a hard team to break down in recent times. But they got 3 goals. They got 27 shots. And I believe 12 on target, if I'm not mistaken. It's fantastic by Brentford. I don't feel like Brentford are losing this game, especially from Brighton, which they're not on fantastic form. They got a win against Nottingham Forest, but they got a loss against Chelsea, 3-2. Overall, I felt like Brighton probably deserved at least a point in that Chelsea game. But they still have a lot of injuries, Brighton, and they're not on fantastic form. You know what? I cannot split the sides. I feel like Brighton, they're still a fantastic side. De Zerbi's still a fantastic manager, despite the results. So I'm going for a 1-1 draw. Moving on to the next game, it's at Old Trafford. It's Manchester United versus Chelsea. And Manchester United, they lost at 1-0 against Newcastle. It could have been even more. It could have been 2, it could have been 3, it could have been 4. 4-0 to Newcastle. It was not a good display. Manchester United aren't really scoring enough. I believe they've only scored 16 goals. And yes, before they played Newcastle, they had the best form in the Premier League. But their performances do not show it whatsoever. The big thing that happened against Newcastle was the wingers. The defensive work rate from the wingers were terrible. Marcus Rashford looked lazy. It was lazy, which made the Newcastle United fullbacks much more space to go on and eventually create chances after chance. Not good enough from the wingers at Manchester United in the last game. And against Chelsea, who have a few players returning, I believe Nkunku should be available for this game. He might not start, but he will be available. And Chelsea with Pochettino, yes, inconsistency. They've won against Brighton. No Conor Gallagher, but overall it is a bit inconsistent at Chelsea. And Manchester United perform badly, but somehow get a good result. But I think stuff is going to change. Manchester United are going to perform badly in this game, and they're also not going to get a result. They're going to lose this game once again, but I'm going for a 3-1 Chelsea win come the final whistle. And moving on to the next game, it's at Villa Park. It's Aston Villa versus Manchester City. And well, can I say the title race is getting pumped up. And Man City dropping points, definitely spicing things up for a lot of teams. Aston Villa are in the title race at the moment as they face Man City at home. And can I quickly say, Aston Villa, in the last 13 home consecutive games, they have won them all. It's fantastic by Aston Villa, and the home in this game. And Leon Baylor looks absolutely fantastic. And going into this, can I quickly say, Man City, Jeremy Doku came off injured, and it was getting all spicing up in that huge game against Spurs. Haaland and Pep Guardiola shouting at the referee because they ended the game just as Manchester City was throwing goal. And the title race is even more crazy. Aston Villa are going to be fighting for the title race. The home form is fantastic. Doku's missing for Man City, and so is De Bruyne, as we already know. And Jack Grealish and Rodrigo are not going to be available either, as they've got suspensions because they've had 5 yellow cards going into this game. And overall, Man City are dropping points against a lot of teams like Chelsea, like Liverpool, and like Spurs, you know, so on and so forth. So I feel like they're going to drop points against Aston Villa to make this title race even more spicier. I'm going to make the draw not a simple 1-1 2-all draw. I'm going to go for a 3-all, absolute 6-goal thriller like Man City did against Spurs. I'm going to go for another 3-all draw for Manchester City. Moving on to the next game, it's a whole new day. It's the 7th of December. It's at Goodison Park. It's Everton versus Newcastle United. And you know what? Newcastle United, unlucky. Nick Pope, I believe, dislocated the shoulder, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure that's what Eddie Howe said. In the past, he also dislocated the shoulder, and he might have to do surgery. So Newcastle are going to have to play Martin Dubravka in their next game against Everton. And I would say Martin Dubravka is good enough. He's Premier League quality. We've seen what he can do in the past in Newcastle, and he's fine. But Newcastle have abundant of injuries still at the club. It's not getting easier, but they still managed to win. They still managed to win 1-0, and they got robbed in the Champions League against PSG, and they played well there. They're still performing well while not having many players available. And Everton, on the other hand, they also got a good win against Nottingham Forest. And the results are still doing well despite the deducted 10 points. They're still doing okay, but Newcastle, they're the favourites. I'm just going to go simple. I may be biased, but I'm going to go for a 1-0 Newcastle United win. They seem unstoppable at the moment. Even with loads of injuries, they seem too good. Sorry, Everton, it's going to be a 1-0 loss. Moving on to the next game, it is at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It is Tottenham Hotspur versus West Ham United. A huge London derby. And Tottenham, as I said earlier on in the video, drew 3-3 against Manchester City. And it was a very good comeback for Tottenham Hotspur. I mean, the second half, they played much better than the first half. Much better. Very, very good. Even with all these injuries, they still managed to get a draw against Manchester City. They've got the home advantage. And on the other hand, West Ham United drew 1-1 against Crystal Palace. Kudus with another goal. James Ward-Prowse is definitely going to contribute in this game with some set-piece masterclass. The amount of corners that come out with goals, the amount of free kicks that eventually lead to goals is crazy. It's all because of James Ward-Prowse. So they're going to score. But Tottenham, you know what? They're also going to score. They've got Heung-min Son. They've got Kudus, who managed to score in the last game. You know, it's looking good for Tottenham. With home advantage, I feel like they will edge it overall. And they'll get back on winning form. They will get back on that winning form. That much-needed winning form. But I'm not going to go for the usual 2-1, 1-0 scoreline. I'm going to go for a crazy one. There's been crazy scorelines all over the place. And I'm going for a 4-2 Tottenham Hotspur win. And well, how did I do in Game Week 14 predictions? I got one scoreline correct, and that was Arsenal versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. And I got around 4 of the results right, whether they'll win, draw, or lose. And overall, I managed to get 6 points out of the possible 20 points in Game Week 14, which puts me on an overall 91 points out of 280 points so far this season. Hopefully you did enjoy the video. Hopefully you can like and subscribe, and always remember to turn on those notifications so you miss one of my fantastic YouTube videos. I will see you next time. Toodle pip now.